California. We're losing another racetrack here in California. This is nuts. Irwindale will join the list of Southern California racetracks to disappear into the developer's dust, joining the likes of Ontario, Riverside, Fontana, Saugus, Ascot, just to name a few. So what the hell's going on?
After nearly a quarter of a century, an iconic SoCal racetrack is shutting down. The Saugus Speedway is set to close in December.
Our guest today has a personal connection to some of these tracks. In fact, some of the West of Tulsa team, we have connections to it as well. So we'll take a fantastic insight into the past. We're going to talk about the present and the future. Is the future as grim as it seems? If you love going to a track here in California, there's an alternative to Irwindale, but you may not like it. Welcome to West of Tulsa. I'm CJ Ward. Our guest today, Jeffrey Wilerth, the Z Club of America and the All Japan Showdown.
Thank you.
Welcome back. You've been here before.
I have, and I enjoyed that so much, and I missed you guys, and I'm glad I'm finally got a chance to come.
I love it when a guest gets emotional.
Yes. Yes.
I thought I could hold it to the end. I can't.
Our goal is to make all our guests cry.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're going to piss them off. So we lost a racetrack. What's going on?
Let's just start right there. Okay, I'm an angry old man as it is. And now we're talking about this subject, which really pushes me over the cliff.
Race
okay?
fuel on the fire, right?
I am
Yes.
really, no, I think it's a great subject. I think it needs to be discussed. I think it should be discussed in a much larger venue. The podcast is awesome, but man, this really needs to be. It's a
You're at a loss for
conundrum, isn't
words.
it?
Yeah,
It is. It's like, why does this have to happen?
Yeah.
Why does this have to
And
happen?
we've talked about this before. I mean, during shows,
Yeah.
but even between shows, we just sit around in this room without taping anything. We talk about what the hell's going on in California.
Yeah.
Well, when you list that list out, it makes me realize, oh, yeah, that one. Oh, yeah, that one. Oh, crap, man. Is there any place to race a car in California left?
Yeah, there were a lot of them we didn't list.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could. I mean, all the way from San Diego, all the way up here to the Central Coast. Mm-hmm. So, what the hell is going on? What is going on? Is it just California? Is just the land has become so valuable that the developers move in and racetracks aren't profitable? Who knows? What is it?
Yeah, that's what I believe is the greater function of Southern California is that it's all this land. It's in demand. People want to be here. They want to be in our weather. They want to be in our politics. They want to be in our social lives. And that's been going on for decades. And that just causes growth. And growth just causes, I got to have a place to live. And that place to live is on a piece of land. And that piece of land happens to be the third turn of XYZ, raceway. And so the developers, here's a better way to explain this to you. So, we're here in Ventura, rather agricultural area, and yet we keep seeing the fields being sold because the families have had them forever, and they go, oh, we make this much money every year, it's great, but the developer is offering me like 20 times that amount of money for the land, and they're going to put up another Costco or whatever it's going to be. So it's like, okay, great, that's development, growth, good for the city. Where are my strawberries coming from? Mm-hmm. What's the net impact of you now selling your farmland to developers? So if you can just take that model and kind of just replace the word farmland with racetrack, that's where we're at.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, and to exacerbate everything, you got California that's put a housing mandate in place.
Yeah.
So now they're saying you have to build more.
Yep.
And so you've got developers out there searching for land. I know in Santa Barbara, there's nothing left, but they're still trying to find little nooks and crannies where they can still build something. It is crazy.
It is crazy. And also the noise. Like, I think that's a huge problem. A lot of people, I know with Fontana, that was one of the complaints were local residents rallying because of noise.
I love it. People move in and they go, who the hell put a racetrack here?
Right.
It's been there for 80 years.
Yeah.
No different than all the people that live close to an airport.
Yeah, exactly.
Planes make so much noise. I have to tell the FAA,
Right.
why don't you just, what are you doing? You knew it was there.
Yeah.
My favorite in Oxnard is like where all the farms are, and even in Ventura, is like when they hear they smell the manure, and they complain to the city. It's like, did you not read when you signed your mortgage that there's a clause for you moved into a farm area that there will be some smells.
Yeah.
So, but
you can move to the inner city for that as well, but that's a whole different topic.
Yeah, it's not going to stop the Karens from complaining.
So real estate development is the largest chunk, but what I've come to find is the second chunk is mineral rights. So most racetracks were smart enough not to build in developed areas. They were out. You always had to go, some of the legacy old ones have been there and the town just grew up around them. But a lot of places are not easy to get to. But someone owns that land and they're willing to lease it out for X periods of time. And then eventually they say, you know what, we need our land back. So let me give you a great example of a local one again here in town. You guys know the Jim Hall Kart Racing School used to be here, right?
Right.
And we had that wonderful little racetrack right on the beach. I mean, I used to work for Jim, and it was such a great experience to be out on the track, teaching people on a beach, on a really
Where
nice track,
else
which
could
really,
you-
I mean,
Yeah.
could it really get any better?
I used to work with Jim Hall. He did all of
Yes,
their
yeah,
promotional
that's-
stuff. Yeah.
So, if I have my history correct, I think that land was owned by Chevron at the time. I think there's been subsequent change of ownerships, but it's right next to the power station there, and Jim had a lease deal to run the track there, and then eventually that wasn't able to continue, and they made Jim tear it all up and put the sand back and leave it all there. So that's the first track that I wanted to mention is like it was right here in our backyards, and while it wasn't necessarily open to the public, it was a racing school and there was a track and all that sort of stuff, and now gone. And that sent him running. He had to try several other places to make it happen, and then sort of the same thing just keeps happening over and over. Because I'll save that for later. Never mind. I'll bring that one up later.
Okay, so the hot topic why we started or brought up the show was Irwindale closing. They're closing at the end of the year.
Yep.
I think December.
In case you haven't heard, yeah.
Yeah.
It's been in all the press, like the mainstream press this week.
I mean, we're one of probably 100 other people are talking about this right now.
Yeah.
Even I think the local CBS did a spot on it. Closing, and even the anchors were like, well, like they felt sorry for you, but oh well, we're moving on. And I was just like, man, I mean, I don't know. It is sad because it's something that we're interested in, and they're replacing it with a industrial complex, which I get it. Companies need places to, no one wants to live in Irwindale. At least I don't think they do. There's not much out there, but that was a pretty iconic place. There was a lot of stuff that happened there, from NASCAR to drifting to just car shows. So a lot of people, it was a place for a lot of people, especially in LA County, to really go to, and I would say that's probably the last in LA, Riverside County. I mean, you have Adams and I don't know if that's Inland Empire or not, but where's everybody going to go? And they don't want people racing on the streets and doing all this stuff. Okay, cool. What happened? I mean, when I was younger, I went to Terminal Island, down in the port at Long Beach, and it was a great place. It was there for a long time. A lot of old school racers there. We would go race there instead of on the street. And then when that closed, well, what did everybody do? They went back to the street, So, I don't know.
And you start thinking of some of these tracks. I mean, I remember driving past Riverside Raceway all the time, Then all of a sudden I heard it was closing. Then all of a sudden it was gone. Fontana, now it's closed, and who knows what the hell's going to happen with Fontana. But I was reading some of the latest articles on that, and they're still trying. There's a plan in place that they're trying to get that going, but they got to be running into all kinds of regulatory type stuff. I would imagine money's not the problem for NASCAR with Fontana. Can't be.
I agree that most all of the times there's politics and regulation and control and government oversight on all these kinds of deals. I think with Fontana, speculating here, that they actually have it a little easier now because they're downsizing. When does that happen?
Right.
That you've got a giant mall and you go, well, I'll make the mall smaller and we can have more homes there or something like that. So I think they're probably not in such a bad situation. But my take on
But you think they're going to open at some point?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. All
yeah,
right.
and it's going to be this much smaller track.
Because the article that I was reading just last night there's still a question whether they can pull it off. So so I know they've had a plan in place and they've had it in place for a few years, but the question is that ever going to happen? Don't know. I mean, that even the articles were like,
yep,
are they going to be able to pull it off? It's kind of the way it would end. It's like,
it's going to be like a quarter-mile oval, like Martinsville or something
exactly.
like that. It's going to be like some tiny ass
exactly.
oval.
No.
You know, which I guess is better than nothing, but still, man.
I think that comes down to money making is all it is, really. And to be able to put on a smaller event, but just as exciting, and pack your stands every night that you have an event, I think that's good business. If you're sitting there and you've got this giant indie style, huge place that, it's really great that twice a year you've got an event that really fills up every seat. That means the rest of the year you were on the edge of not making your money for the event that you put on. So
Yeah, Fontana though too, like if they downsize, I think one of the things that I loved about Fontana was that there was so much going on. There was karting, they did autocross, they did track days, NASCAR stuff. Like it was such a big complex and it housed so many different options for motorsports that when they closed, it took away so many options for so many different people. So that was tough. Like it wasn't like LACR like back in the day where we just went out there for drag racing. So
you think the closure of Fontana probably had a bigger impact than the closure of Irwindale? I mean, among
I think they're
the street
pretty
folks who are
close
trying
because
to-
Irwindale was used for quite a bit of.
Irwindale is definitely used.
Yeah, because you had literally every drifting, drag,
Right.
And
NASCAR.
I
karting.
also think Irwindale's more affordable when it comes to shows, whereas Fontana probably might not have been.
Right.
I don't know for sure, but I'm just speculating because there are so many different types of car shows at Irwindale. But I know with Irwindale, the last few years, they've been fighting to keep it open. And so they probably have just been open to a lot more events the last few years.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we talked about this before the show, but I'm going to throw my conspiracy theory into all this because
Why not? Everybody's.
I
into
mean,
one right now.
why not? Everybody's got their. So I'll say it. So I feel like the problem with Irwindale, Fontana, maybe not so much LACR because it closed a long time ago, but it was the beginning of the end for me because, and for a lot of people because it's hard to modify your car in California. There's like a meme going around or like a video I saw is like, you can modify your body, but you can't modify your car.
Yeah.
I'm like, I mean, as
absolutely.
crass as that might sound, I mean, it's kind of true because they treat you like criminals. I think we had what's his name from Zuma Cars and Coffee.
Oh, yeah.
Stephen Goldfield.
Yeah, Goldfield.
He says the discriminated group in California are car people, and they get treated like criminals. And it's just like I feel like that's the case. So it's hard to modify your car. So if you don't want to modify your car because you want to deal with the hassle, why would you want to go to an event?
Yeah.
You want to go to an event because you're into it. You want to do it yourself. Take your car. Or be inspired by another car, and I was like, maybe that's why. Because money will talk, right? If there's more money in racing than there is in development, which obviously is not going to be the case, but if this is the case, then there'd be racetracks everywhere.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, I heard of a track that got resurrected after being abandoned for 10 years in Alabama, and they just opened up a couple weeks ago. I'm like, man.
That would never happen here.
Yeah.
That would
There's
never
no
happen
resurrecting here.
Right.
Well, I mean, if you think about the history, like Jeffrey just alluded to, tracks were put out in the middle of nowhere back when they were originally built, right? Mm-hmm. Probably because of noise, because the land was available and all that.
Yep.
We're probably following just the same pattern now that they were 80 years ago. Except everything's built up around the tracks that used to be out in the middle of nowhere. So you got to close down the track and you got to go move the track to the middle of nowhere again. And that sounds like what the pattern we're in.
And California's big enough to where we could do that, but will they allow it is the question, right? I don't know. You got the EPA breathing down every tuner's neck.
Yeah.
It's like, will they allow that to happen? I don't know. I mean, the amount of emissions coming from a racetrack every so often, it doesn't compare to the amount of traffic that we have every single day.
Absolutely.
Right?
What if we convert every race car to electric? Would that change it?
Shut the fuck up. CJ, I'm going to kick you out of this fucking room right now.
What if that is the answer to our problem?
That's not an answer.
No.
Talk about conspiracy theory. Yeah, we could actually start it right here. We'll just convert all of our cars to electric, and then the racetracks will stay. What do you
You're
think about that?
fired. You're fired,
What do you
CJ.
think about that?
And I own a Tesla.
I knew I could get to him. He was like, man.
And I own a Tesla. No freaking way, man.
Do you think that's where we're headed? Do you think 40 years from now we're going to see more
I'm not
electric
headed that
race
way.
cars?
I do think you will see electric race cars. I I don't know who. None of my friends will go watch that, but
You'll be dead. I'll be dead.
I would rather be dead than watch
Yeah, okay.
only electric car racing. It's just not.
Jeffrey's keeping his mouth shut right now, but I know. I can tell by the look on his face. He's like, "Oh man, I'm going to let loose here in a second."
Mom, Dad, don't fight it. Really upsets the kids.
Oh boy. So we did go off on a little bit of a tangent,
Yeah.
I guess, but all right.
We didn't say we were going to talk about that on the
No,
show.
we didn't. But if anything to get Gabe
Okay,
riled up.
so here's my. I probably should have saved this for the end, but here's my vision. We will have more racing in Los Angeles, and it's going to turn out to be more street racing. It's going to be just like Long Beach.
Yeah.
There's plenty of roadways that could easily be closed off without a huge inconvenience. There's opportunities for a track format. It won't be a permanent one. It'll be an event kind of thing, and you could just like Long Beach.
Oh, like Long Beach Grand Prix you're
Yeah,
talking about.
Yeah,
right.
you
Okay.
could do this over and
Yeah.
over and over. You could
NFT,
rubber stamp that
how they
everywhere,
rent, yeah.
and you can be where you're not necessarily offending the neighbors or upsetting the cows or whatever the issue is for that particular community. But you could set that up, and that could turn out to be the opportunities.
But that's to go watch racing. But if you want to participate in it, you want to get on the track. Are you saying that would be open to the public if they were setting up a Long Beach Grand Prix style in the streets? That it would be open to anybody for a period of time?
Well, that's up to the racing organization that would do it.
Because that's what we're missing here. I think that's what happens is these tracks are disappearing, and the folks
I
who
like it.
race on the street.
No prep on Hollywood Boulevard. Let's go. No prep drag racing on Hollywood Boulevard.
Wow.
So you want to learn a little bit about history?
Absolutely.
This?
Yeah.
I got some stuff I'd like
Yeah,
to
let's get
start
even
with
more
here.
mad. Let's
Okay.
get pissed off here.
All right. This was an interesting little bit I just wanted to throw out as a way to say, oh really? Okay. 1938, the Hollywood Park horse track opened up, and it ran until 2013. But it finally closed down because of a master plan for a big neighborhood, and the as I understand it, that didn't really work out. The master plan
Neighborhood.
that didn't after all that. So they gave up the horse track for a growth opportunity that didn't grow.
Yeah. That's not exactly a booming part of town either.
Right.
Yeah, I used to work down there. It's,
Yeah.
it's not a booming part of town.
Oh, here I thought it was the horses that smelled. Okay, let's go way back in time. 1910. From 1910 to 1920, there was a place called the LA Motordrome. So you've heard of the bicycle dromes,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Have you ever heard of this LA?
I actually have, yes.
museum?
Yes.
God, you're old.
Yes.
So
I read old books. I'm not old. I just read old books.
here's the little detail I have about that is that at sometimes 100,000 people would go to the event there.
That place doesn't look like it could hold 100,000 people.
It's and that at the time that equated to 1/5 of LA's population was going to this event. So it's a
See?
beautiful look at that. It's
My
it's like-
conspiracy theory is holding true. When the population's into racing, there'll be racetracks.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely.
For sure.
And that, if not mistaken, you correct me if I'm wrong, that's a wooden racetrack.
That's exactly what I was about to tell you. That's all wood and all of that. And so
Yep.
guess what happened to that racetrack?
Recycled?
Firewood? No.
You're absolutely
Firewood,
right.
I'm
It was
sure,
wood,
right?
Yeah.
and it burned, and the whole facility went down. So that's how one of Southern California's first racetracks. That was its demise.
Wow.
Wow.
So that's a legit demise.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like
Yeah,
okay with
yeah.
that. I was like, oh,
Right.
sad story. I'm upset about that.
What year did that?
To
was that-
1910 to 1920. What is it? 1910 to the early 1920s. I didn't have. the
Okay,
exact
so
date.
so that to me that's pretty obvious what it is. The car was a novelty then. Many people had barely seen cars. It was like horse and buggy, horse. Oh, there's a car. It's like a big deal.
Right.
So to see those things racing, it's just like seeing the biplanes. It's like it's like it's
It's
a
like
big
a circus
deal.
show, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah, like a spectacle.
Exactly, because when you look at that picture, you can see 2/3 of it is spectator stands.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Yeah.
you noticed that. It's like, look at that. Almost the whole thing is spectator stands,
Yeah.
which is pretty
Right.
crazy.
what a great deal, though, man. I would,
I know. Yeah.
get dizzy. I'm sure.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun to race at a place like
Well,
that.
it's almost like a velodrome. It's like a Olympic
Yeah.
bicycle velodrome. It's just a bigger version for cars, which
Yeah.
is all banked and super fast, and they're like mixing it up and
Yeah.
stuff. I'm sure it was exciting to watch.
So another one that, gee whiz, predates me, 1940s to 1954, there was the Carrell Speedway. You know that one?
No, never
That
heard
one
of
I
it.
don't know.
I did not either. I think I was a little off on the real estate. It was either Torrance or Gardenia. It's sort of right at that fence where that is. 1940 to 1954, and it was a great little track that apparently everybody liked, and they. I think the fun thing about that was that it was sports cars. It was a dirt oval, but they were running sports cars, the old MGs and Alfa Romeos and stuff like that. And they said it was hilarious to see these things bouncing around that were so not ready for that sort of activity. Isn't that kind of cool?
Early rallycross.
There you go.
Yeah, yeah.
That's exactly what it is. There you go. Well, yeah, it's rally circle. And so another situation that it finally was closed down for development, and it was because they put Artesia Boulevard in there.
Oh, damn.
Artesia Boulevard went right through the third turn or something.
interesting.
Like
Wow.
that. So that's
Yeah, they say Gardena on the brochure you gave us. It says Gardena. So, yeah, it's
So,
like right
yeah.
there on the border of
Yeah.
like Torrance and Manhattan Beach.
There you
and-
go.
Funny. Gardena used to be a big street racing place for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if it still is, but
I can see the reminiscing in the eyes.
lots of good, lots
I
of
almost
good and
got
bad
caught,
memories. Yeah.
Then another interesting one, knew nothing about, and I know this area, was called the Paramount Racetrack. And that was on the Paramount Ranch that still exists today, is still used for movies and productions and all that sort of stuff. This was on their property. They had it. And it was only open for a few years in the late 50s. And that was sort of nestled in the Santa Monica Mountains, just south of us here, probably more of the, at the Paramount Ranch. And the reason these guys closed, now this is another good, legit reason to close one. It was fatalities were out of control. Too many people were
really?
dying there, and they just said, okay, we have to
Wow.
stop doing this.
And we know why. So our Hot Rod Legend show, this topic came up.
That's
you remember?
right. That's right.
That racetrack, some of the guys on our Legend show raced at that track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they explained why it was so dangerous.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, I remember that now.
Yeah.
Thank you for, yes.
Yes.
Because they changed the direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when they changed the direction, all of a sudden, all the rails became
Yeah.
They became like spears.
Yeah.
To these
Oh,
guys.
wow.
Yeah.
So if you're a big enough nerd that's of great interest to you, the track is still there. There are portions of the track you can still go walk around.
Yeah.
There it is, right there. That's it. And
Right.
so
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty dang cool that
is.
that could still be.
I
Well,
love
they
that
did like
shot.
a lot of stunt stuff there too, didn't they? For movies and
Oh,
stuff.
still,
Is that-
yeah,
So
yeah.
I can see why there might also be casualties.
Sketchy.
Well, very, very sadly, I don't know if you guys know or have ever been out there, but Paramount Ranch burned to the ground
In the fire.
about 5 years ago
Yeah.
when we were having our
Oh.
series of fires.
Oh, really?
Because every year I go to the Topanga Banjo Fiddle Contest out there. I like
You what?
bluegrass. I like bluegrass. Bluegrass is awesome.
Oh,
They
I
have it
thought
out
you
there
played the
every year.
banjo. I was like, damn.
No, no.
Like,
I
play
play
a little ditty for us, please.
No,
I
no,
love
no.
the banjo.
But
awesome.
I will tell you, I went out there last year and I took my two little nieces out there, and it was incredibly sad because they had all those cool sets and a whole old West town burned to the ground. It doesn't exist. All that's left is a church. There was like a freestanding church set that's out there, and everything else they're gonna rebuild it supposedly, but it's
But
taking.
it's gonna look like new old.
It's gonna look new old, and
Yeah.
it's taking like 10 years to rebuild.
Wow.
You know,
Man.
they're raising money and
That
stuff, but it's
sucks.
really sad. But
Yeah.
it's beautiful out there, though.
Wow.
So I can imagine having a cool racetrack out there. That would have been something to see.
Absolutely.
For sure. It's a beautiful area.
It is. The mountains are gorgeous. Okay, so then in no particular order, a track I sure liked a lot was the Saugus Speedway.
small track.
Yeah, really
very
small.
unassuming and just random. I remember passing by it when I used to live in the valley, just going through Santa Clarita, and you pass by, I'm like, is that a racetrack?
Yeah. Yeah.
You never went though.
No, well, because it was closed when I would live down there.
okay.
And then they opened it for like a second, and then they closed it again. And I don't know if they still do anything there. I think they do swap meets there or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what it wound up. So after its demise, it turned into just the swap meet
The
place. It's
Saugus
still
swap
there,
meet,
and it's
yeah.
currently. Wait a minute, what was that detail on that? There was. They're currently. Yes, there's the city of Santa Clarita is working with them right now on plans for 316 homes to be in there.
Really?
Aw, man.
Yeah. But it was just a flat land, after they...
Yeah, I know in the last, I don't know, probably 15, maybe 20 years since the last time I went through there, on the other side of the river, or whatever, I forgot what road that is. What road is that there? Anyways, there's a massive development there. There's like thousands of new homes over there. So I know that if Saugus were at an Everfire, it'd piss off everybody on that side. So it makes sense that I'm surprised that they hung out this long before they demolished it, but whatever.
1946 to 1995. So that's a
That's a good run.
That's a good
Yeah.
run. That's a real good run.
Yeah.
That's a really great run. And I wanted to so one of my personal experiences there was I wound up befriending, do you guys remember on KLOS, Uncle Joe Benson?
I do.
Yeah, Uncle
Oh,
Joe,
yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Joe Benson.
See how the young ones don't.
I
They're
don't.
like, what? They're like, what's KLOS? Right.
I know KLOS. I just don't know the name. So.
You know the bumper sticker is what you know, right?
yes,
Most people know the bumper
yes,
sticker.
Stickers.
yeah.
Right. So anyway, Joe was not only just a great DJ and a very cool guy, but he loved racing.
He was a car guy.
Hardcore.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know
so, he raced at Saugus, and I would go meet him there and just be with him in the pits and stuff like that.
What kind of car did he have?
He had?
Or race?
We had. He did two. He also loved to drag race.
Oh.
So he had a drag racer, and he had I guess it's modified. I don't know what the real class was called for whatever that. The circle tracks.
Dirt track.
Was it like a midget?
It's a paved track. It's a paved track.
Okay.
Asphalt track, and that's where I first started to see when the NASCAR trucks were coming out.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
ran those guys there, and then the Spears series ran for a real long time for modified stock cars.
Would they call it sprint cars? Are those sprint cars like the smaller ones?
Or midget, the midget.
Yeah, there
cars,
may have been
Those
that.
are usually on dirt, though.
Again,
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
yeah,
okay.
but you can also have asphalt,
Yeah.
so that's not an
Yeah.
issue. So it was probably there. Anyway, if you ran that many years, you got to do a lot of good things, I'm sure. And there was a lot of development as technology continued and cars got better. But the crowd was always, it was just, and it wasn't far. That was the other part. I love that, when you don't have to go terribly far from where you live to see. So
Right.
that was a good one. I really miss that place a lot.
For sure.
I think we all have something to say about LACR, the Los Angeles County Raceway.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I can tell you that, and I always remembered that as being closer too, but it was actually Palmdale.
Yeah, it was Palmdale.
Yeah.
But it's still, it wasn't an hour drive
Yeah.
from LA, so it wasn't that bad at all.
Yeah.
And so for those that
Yeah.
don't know, it was a quarter-mile drag strip.
Yep.
They did have a little in the dirt off to the side. They had a like you could BMX or motocross,
Yeah, right.
that sort of thing. But LACR ran from 1964 to 2007, so that's another
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
really good
That
run.
was my very first legitimate drag racing. was at LACR. That was and I love that place. Battle of the Imports.
Yeah,
They did
Battle of
all
the Imports.
that,
Frank
yeah.
Troy started Battle of the Imports. That was the beginning of import drag
Absolutely.
racing.
Before
That was the
Fast
genesis.
and Furious.
Way before
Fast
that.
and Furious.
Way before that. It's where I cut my teeth. That in
Yeah.
Terminal Island, and it started a lot of people who are in business today. Their careers started as the hobby at Battle of the Imports. Battle of the Imports was by far the genesis of import drag racing.
I think,
Yeah.
if my memory serves me, the original Fast and Furious, they filmed there as well. There were scenes in there.
I think they did film
Yeah.
some stuff.
Oh,
there
yeah, I mean,
in
I
the
would
beginning.
imagine.
Yeah.
And the thing was, it was you're like many racetracks around here. You're out in the desert. It was not, and so that track was often referred to as the ice rink because just dust would blow in whether you liked it or not,
Yep.
and you'd be all set up and have your car dialed and hooked, and then
And it was high altitude too, so it was,
High
people always had
altitude.
trouble tuning their cars. So if your car was quick at Palmdale, it was quicker everywhere else at sea elevation, like Pomona or Terminal Island. So that was like the benchmark. If you're fast at LACR, you're fast everywhere.
Yeah.
So that was
The early import, like in this era, that would have been carburetors, right? That was before everything was fuel injected.
no. Well, I mean, for the imports, they were all fuel injected, but
Yeah.
like I went to carburetors because they didn't make individual throttle bodies at the time. So I switched over to carburetors because that was old school, cheap. It was cheaper to do that. It would switch over to a set of Webers and Makunis on your Honda or whatever, and with some nitrous. So I mean,
and that NOS era. I had NOS on my 240.
but a lot of people stuck with the fuel injection. But you have old school racers like when Bernie was on the show, he was talking about the old school rotary guys. They were all carbureted. There's still a lot of them are carbureted. So it just depends on who was. But majority of the cars were fuel injected at the time because they were all imports at the time.
But you couldn't really like tweak the fuel injection unless you're playing with the ECU.
Yeah,
right?
of course. Yeah, people were doing that. I mean, people were doing all kinds of janky stuff back in the day. I mean, we still are, but technology hadn't caught up. But people were hacking, doing things that they could to modify their cars. I think that goes with any generation of drag racers. Back in the 50s, guys were doing all kinds of weird stuff.
Oh yeah,
to see if their car would make more power. So they were no different. So but yeah, LACR is like I got the bug there. For competition, and for like sanctioned racing, and I always wanted them to do more with it. I looked forward to it every year.
I know.
You guys are making me think back of the imagery of being there and how it was really just a little shithole. There was not a lot there.
Oh, yeah.
That was like the timing tower.
still is.
I really don't remember much infrastructure or anything there.
No, it wasn't.
And yet, when you think, I was just making parallels in my brain about the way it is today, that there would be great stands and there would be a nice restaurant you could eat at. And it's like, all you have to do is add these little attributes to it. And all of a sudden the place is like,
it's happening.
A place to hang.
Yeah.
I don't think they've even developed there yet.
No,
it's still there.
It's still there. Yeah,
it's still there.
It was motocross for a really long time. Dirt. It's just dirt basically now.
Yeah, my dad used to race motocross out there.
Yeah. And it was weird for me to race at LACR and then go race at Pomona because they were like completely opposite.
Going from like the ghetto to a palace.
Yeah,
basically.
It was weird.
Well,
it was
that
really
gets back
weird.
to the infrastructure.
Yes, exactly.
Pomona's got everything you need, really.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Wonderful. So let's talk about Riverside. It's one that really rips at my heart because it was just one of the great American road race courses.
Yeah.
It really was. So in Jeffrey's Land, I was from back east. I was working for the Skip Barber Racing School in Connecticut, and left that company to come out to California and start working for Jim Hall. And so this is 1989. I get out here. They had just had the last NASCAR race at Riverside, and that was it. The track was closed, but they still had a few things that were on the calendar, including Skip Barber had a racing school scheduled for there. A school weekend, I guess was what it was. So as soon as I got out here, because I already knew the guys that worked on the West Coast, I ran down and I worked with them for the weekend, just helping out in other ways. But what I didn't really realize at that moment, you know what else? My battery died. My battery died while I was out there. So we get done with the day and everybody's wrapping up and packing out and moving on. And I'm trying to get into my little Datsun Z and it's not starting. I was like, oh my God, they're going to find me here in the morning. It'll be terrible. So anyway, it turned out that racing school event was like the last thing. I can't swear 100% that there wasn't one more little club event or something like that, but we were, so that was just my special, farewell to it. But the raceway was originally done in 1957, closed in 1989. There was issues because it originally was part of Riverside County, but then they created the Moreno Valley and in 1984. So then it kind of like switched. I don't know if that's ownership or just who's in charge and that sort of thing. It was just, and the other thing that was cool for me in my history was that was one of the first great racetracks that they televised. Riverside was easy for everybody to watch. You could watch those races. It was always on Wide World of Sports and that sort of stuff. So same thing. Had it had different infrastructure, so, and as you saw the picture, I think I've got that for you, Dan, don't you? That you have, do we have the aerial shots?
Not loaded.
Not
sorry.
loaded up. Okay, well, we'll put that in
We'll
there.
put it
But
in.
yeah, that you can see the aerial shot of what the track layout was. And now they have superimposed that layout on top of all the homes that went there. So that
It
was
looked
one
like
of
a
the
pretty
great,
big track.
It was, yeah.
It was a big track.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I go past it, even go past that area now, and I still look over and think, look at all those homes.
Yeah.
I still look at it, and every time I drive by there, I think, wow, look at that. That's where the track used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sad.
I don't like Riverside.
Yeah. The big sign. There's the big sign that was right there.
I'd go there for racing, but that's about it.
Yeah.
All right. This is Dan's turn. Let's talk about the Lions drag strip.
Dan, the non-car guy?
He understands now that the wheels are actually round. He got that part down. He's catching up to us.
This picture is my era from there.
Yeah.
When I used to go there with my dad and my brother, like that dragster I may have seen. I mean, that style.
That's badass.
That's like the medium short wheelbase. It's before they got real long.
Yep.
It was loud as hell. I mean, I was little. I was probably 8 years old or something, and it spent a lot of time there.
Where was Lions?
It's Long Beach.
I was a little kid. I don't know where it was.
Yeah. I think it's still technically within the town of Long Beach.
Okay.
So in that area there. And it was called Lions Drag Strip because it was actually put on by the Lions organization.
That's cool.
They sponsored it.
And they used it as a fundraiser.
Yeah.
So they opened up the track so that the community would come, spend money. They would then take that money and they would put it towards charity events that the Lions Club really believed in and pushed for. How cool is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
They probably got a few members out of it, too.
And they probably grew that. So very, very cool. And then another person who really got at the forefront of making Lions drag strip a known thing was the big name was Micky Thompson.
Yeah.
And Micky Thompson got out there as, for lack of a better word, an ambassador to just pushing drag racing, showing the safety, because he was bending all the rules, creating new stuff, which became the good rules for all of the racers to follow. So anyway, he was legendary in so many ways. The Lions started in 1959, and that went all the way to 1972. And guess what it was that brought that one to an end? It was noise. It was the whiny people that said, I bought a house next to a drag strip and it's loud.
Yeah.
Well, and in the 70s and 80s, where a lot of people moved out to California from the East Coast.
That's right.
There was a huge California
yeah.
boom back then.
That's correct.
So I'm sure the same thing, the housing and the growth thing is probably a huge factor.
Well, they probably thought they were moving to California to get away from the noise.
Yeah.
So.
I just Googled it, Wilmington, California. So Wilmington's right out there. Yeah.
Right there.
Right after like the 710 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so tell us a story.
A lion story. Jeez. Well, this will echo back to something we've talked about in the past. I can definitely remember being a kid and seeing Shirley Muldowney race there and getting to go meet her in the pits and shake her hand and go, wow,
cool.
Shirley Cha-Cha Muldowney. And she was, I can't remember what car she was driving. It's just too long ago. But
Did you ever see Jungle Pam there?
I may have, but it didn't. I would think it would have stuck in an eight or 9 year old mind. It would have been like, whoa.
There's two ththings I could think that would stick in your head.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I may have. I don't remember, honestly.
Okay. Maybe you're too young to remember.
But your dad raced there?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what was he racing?
He used to take us out there. As I recall, I've got a picture of him. I think it was a 55 or 56 black Chevy Bel Air.
Nice.
It was definitely an old school hot rod. I remember that.
Nice.
And I remember riding it in it. Not racing, just riding in it. It was like a, run what you brung type thing. It wasn't like a trailered car with a, insane engine and so on. But it was fast. I remember that.
That's cool.
That is cool.
Great story for a non-car guy.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll see a picture of it.
Yeah. No, I'll bring that in sometime.
Okay, the little pedal on the right is for what?
Blinkers?
Yeah. You're getting there, bud.
Something like that.
Eventually.
Yeah.
It's going to be like episode 4,000, and finally it'll be like, we
Bing.
have to retire
He's a
him.
car guy.
Oh, now he thinks he's a car guy.
You guys have seen that post, right, where they show the Brights thing on the floor. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I don't even know if you guys know what I'm talking about. where did you used to hit brights on a car, like in the 60s,
No,
the
the
50s?
little.
Yeah.
The little floor, the
Oh,
little
yeah.
floor dinger. I don't know what you call it. It's
Yeah.
like your bright switch. So instead of on the
My
stalk.
Plymouth Fury had one of those.
You know what we're talking
Yeah.
about, Gabe? Have you seen this?
Nope.
Yeah.
If you see an old car, like go over to our friend,
40s.
go over to our friends and look on the floor to the left of like what would be the clutch pedal.
Yeah.
And you'll see a little round thing, and it's like ka-chink, ka-chink. That's how you would turn on your brights.
Yeah,
It's
it was a
crazy.
button.
Oh, I thought that was a parking brake release.
No, it's like a little
It's like
round.
around about that big.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just metal.
Metal.
They never
I
decorated
literally
them.
thought that was a parking brake release.
No,
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. Learn something
Yeah.
new every day.
learn something new every day from the old geezers.
Around the same time as curb feelers, right?
That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
That people have
I wanna
no
bring
clue
those
what
back.
they are.
I
know,
remember
right?
curb feelers.
Absolutely.
Put that on my RX-7.
Yeah.
Maybe we can incorporate some pyrotechnics in there so that when
Absolutely.
it, like, you know, you just shoot the fireworks.
Yeah.
Flames.
So one of the really more memorable and big places, and I did get there. I attended before it closed up. Was Ascot Park Speedway. Ascot had been legendary. That's the Agajanian family that ran that, and I believe, if I had my history right, remember I talked about that Carrell Speedway. I think Agajanian was involved in that as well. I don't know if he was a part owner or just a promoter. Or
Is
how
this
that
on the water?
So no, that's the LA River system.
The aqueduct.
Yeah.
Where was this?
Ascot was
Boy, if it's off
What
the
town-
if it's off the aqueduct.
look that up for us, Dan.
Yeah.
Ascot Park. I forget where that was exactly.
It was called
Oh, I'll tell you what. Here's the hint. Their motto was that's where, I guess in 1958 they started saying the 110, the 405, and the 91 collide. That's where you go.
Oh, dang.
where they collide. 110, 405, and 91, where
That's
they all
the
collide.
South Bay, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Exactly.
Dang, I didn't know that.
So, and the demise. So Ascot ran from 1957 to 1990. But it was the same story again, where it was a real estate development deal that finally forced the closure, and that real estate deal did not come through and didn't happen, and so it lost it. But here was the deal. That was
Located near Gardena.
Yeah, it's on South Bay.
Yeah. Indiana Street, if you know where that is. I know where that is.
I know where
like
that
in
is.
LA, yeah.
So they just really dominated the sprint car programs and all, and they always had great events. Their turkey nights were off the chart. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people would go, standing room only, to go watch, Turkey Night, the last one of the season and stuff like that. It was such a great place, so important, lasted forever, always filled up. They put on a good show. And then in the 80s, ESPN started, or late 80s, I guess, ESPN started covering them. And they had their Thursday Night Thunder show that they would broadcast live, from Ascot and stuff like that. I mean, that was
When
and again-
ESPN was looking through things to air that was different than everybody. That's what ESPN did at the beginning. They
Absolutely.
They were looking
every
for
sport that isn't on TV already.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
what we do.
You know, I have a fuzzy memory of being a kid and watching TV and seeing maybe on like KTLA, like on Channel 5, seeing racing from Ascot.
Really
Yeah.
cool.
Way before ESPN. This probably would have been in the 70s and so on. So, yeah, now that you bring that up, Ascot sticks in the mind.
And the park itself became available because it was a city dump. And that's what Agajanian bought, and that's what he built the track on, was this old city dump.
True entrepreneur.
Oh, interesting.
Great stuff. Really cool. And a lot of the legendary sprint car drivers and eventually NASCAR drivers, they all got their, got their bite, at Ascot. That's where they, so.
Wow. That's one of the tracks that just has the name. I mean, when you hear the name Ascot,
Great
you go,
name,
oh, Ascot
yeah.
Park. Yes. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So then, I know you guys really don't care much about this one, but let's talk about AutoClub Speedway. 1995 to 2023. It was the, quote, the next gen of California project is what they're closing it down for, the next generation of it. And
They're doomed.
yeah, pretty much. It's what they're looking for is exactly what we had discussed earlier. It's about a half-mile track, just like Martinsville, nice long straight that you can rev it up, and then you go through a really big banked turn on either end. And again, I've been to Martinsville. You want to know something about Martinsville? Okay, last time I was on the show, I told you guys about the deep fried avocados.
Yes.
Yes.
Remember that?
I remember
Yep.
that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got your attention.
The best ones.
Okay, let's go to Martinsville sometime. Get the hot dogs. The hot dog comes on the bun. I think it was cabbage or something that they chop up real fine and put that on top of there. The hot dog is, you take the bite and you go, oh, wow, that's really a great hot dog. But then you look at it and there's the outer skin that has a color. Then there's this different color in the middle that's the meat. And then for some reason, there's like this red dot in the center of, I don't know what. It's just, I don't know what that was.
Did you ask or just keep eating it?
Just keep eating it. You're at the racetrack, It's like wash
guessing
it down
it's
with a
not
beer.
all
It was all
natural.
good.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know
MSG.
what it was, my friend, but they were good, and I kept eating them, and that's what you do. So that's
It's
what
pure.
food.
It's pure nitrate. It's just a shaft of pure nitrate.
Right?
3 shades of food coloring.
if you've been to Martinsville and you have a comment to counter that, you let me know.
Got it.
So yeah, that's in construction right now. As you know, they've torn up half of it, and we have an image that will, that shows how they're. There you go. That's what they're doing. So there's the track as we all know it.
Wow.
And the red line is what the new one's going to be. It's just going to be this bull ring that they're just going to, and you can put stands now on both sides of that. And you can put stands all the way around it, and now you're getting an awful lot of people coming to an event that's smaller, easier to manage, all that sort of stuff. You don't have to have 20 miles
And
of cable.
it'll be a slower track, so it might be a little bit more safer for other events and stuff like that. Because I know there's a couple of people that have died on the infield at AutoClub. Not NASCAR, just like there's like a couple Porsche GT, like I think 1 or 2 Porsche GTs that crashed there. Because you can get a lot of speed coming out of there, but also too that's probably bad drivers. But a smaller track, I mean, I guess it's okay,
Well, let's the option that is currently being used is the Coliseum.
Which
again,
they've used a few times.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what you get. And guess what? They fill that place up.
Yeah.
They're making their money on that one.
right.
That's a non-issue.
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty crappy venue for NASCAR because it's just itty bitty beyond.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
I'd rather see go-karts go around there
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
watch NASCAR guys.
Sure.
go
Yeah,
around there.
right.
But,
Yeah.
So AutoClub, we talked about it at the top. AutoClub
Yeah.
is Fontana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I probably did most of my racing there. Well, because I did a lot of autocross there. Like they would host SCCA would host a lot of autocross there.
Yeah.
And then like I took my daughter for her first autocross there. I took a bunch of my girlfriends for their first autocross there. So it holds a lot of memories for me. And then I had my first track night in America, which I loved that track. That was so much fun. So yeah, it's a bummer. It was a bummer for me when it closed. I was always excited to go out there.
But there probably is a metric about, because they did all these events and they had stuff going on. It was busy all the time. It was always rented out.
Yeah.
But if you look at a metric that says, the amount of revenue per acre or however you want to measure that, that's where it's like consolidate,
right.
and we have less property tax that we have to pay, or
Yeah.
this or that or whatever their reasons are, and we can make even more money in a tighter, smaller place.
Yeah, and 7-stock. That was my first 7-stock was there.
Yeah. Same here.
And then being on the Roval in the RX-7 was epic and something I will never forget.
Yep. I'm gonna go back to my conspiracy theory.
you are.
Yeah, because
All right.
you promote a culture around motorsports, people will get behind it. They won't. It's not a noise thing to them. It's like, oh, they're racing again. I should go down there and check it out. Versus, what's that noise?
Yeah.
I can't watch my YouTube or whatever.
Yeah.
They have double pane windows now.
I don't know. I mean, I can still kind of hear the sprint cars over at Ventura Raceway from my house sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, oh, they're racing
I love
again.
that.
You know.
I do.
Yeah.
Now, regarding Fontana, I saw the photo, but have they actually started construction?
They started
It's
demoing.
Yeah.
demo.
But they
phase.
haven't started building it though.
I don't believe so because
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't think
and that's
so.
what I that's
Yeah.
what I was reading in the articles that there's been a holdup. They
Yeah.
were hoping to have their first event early 2025, and they've already said that that's not going to
Yeah,
happen.
I heard
they're
something
way
about
off
that.
from
Yeah,
that.
they're way off.
So something's holding it up. I would be
Yeah.
curious to find out
I'm
what
gonna
that
say
is.
it's probably the city of Fontana.
Yeah, I would guess that would be it.
You know, in
Yeah.
California, the
Yeah.
permits is what hold everything
That's
else.
Oh,
what-
yeah.
that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
It's like,
You
what
didn't
is it?
grease the right palms yet.
Yeah.
Could be county, could be city.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be EPA. Who
Could be
knows?
ARB. It could be.
That's what we need to do. An EPA sponsored racetrack. That's how we'll get racetracks in California.
What if we just,
yeah. Good luck.
just turn it all
Yeah.
electric? What do you think about that? I'm just poking the bear now.
He
That's
keeps going back to
Fresh
that.
idea.
Careful when you poke the bear. You got fangs, man.
We could just use the F-bomb bleep
There you
anytime he
go.
brings up electric.
Electric,
beep,
yeah.
beep,
Yeah.
beep.
What is he saying? Don't worry about it.
Start a drinking game. Every time CJ says electric, you got to take a shot.
But it does stand out among these other speedways that we've been talking about because that's not a case of real estate development that I'm aware of. That's not a case of
Yeah.
political hassle. That's not a case of
Right, 'cause it was bought by NASCAR,
This is
right?
they
Yeah,
own it. They
they
know what
own
they're
it,
doing,
yeah.
and they're no dummies. They
Yeah.
run very successful operations.
know how to
across
make money,
America, and
that's
they're-
for sure.
You know, it's
They've done
like
their market analysis
they've
and
done all that
Yeah.
that sort of stuff.
I mean, it could be cool if it's a smaller, like oval. Maybe for drifting, they'll open up for drifting. They'll do some cool drift events. I'm sure they
Yeah.
will. They've got
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
You know, not so much drag racing anymore, but you know, whatever.
Yeah. Right.
You know, I mentioned that I had lived in Connecticut. I lived right at Lime Rock Park.
Wow.
I literally could walk out my backyard, go down, cross over the little creek there, and I was right at the bottom of the downhill at Lime Rock Park. So every day to wake up to engines
A
outside.
rumble, yeah.
That's so cool.
So, you know, it's like maybe there's not enough of us in the world to live around racetracks,
Maybe.
but man, if you get the opportunity to live right next to a
Yeah.
racetrack, absolutely do it.
I would love that. That would be a dream. That'd be so cool.
All right.
I was
While we're,
about to say, is that the end of your list or no?
no, I got a couple more.
Okay, all right.
Within that same area, we have to talk about Ontario Motor Speedway.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
So this is 19. Okay, they started work on it in 1968. They don't open until 1970. But the process, I'm sorry, maybe the construction, it was a 4-year workup to get to the place where they could finally open. Okay, 4 years. And then it only runs for 10 years. So what business person would ever want to do that deal? You know,
Yeah.
where you put in, you know, almost half of your future is invested in just getting your shit together and getting it made, and then the next thing you know, you're done. It's like that could not have been a happy situation for anybody.
It's just the one that was right off the 10.
But yeah,
Right off the 10.
right
freeway.
off the 10,
Yep.
and it was often referred to as the Indy of the West because it was essentially the same as Indianapolis, and they would call it the Big O. I don't know if that's on any of the artwork there, but this was one of the ones that turned out to be that was another mineral rights issue. Chevron actually owned that land at the time, and they wanted their land back after a period of time. And so I don't know the contractual story behind that, but it sounded like a
There's
probably
the big O on the ticket.
Oh, there
That's
it is.
The
Yeah,
logo.
yeah. There you go. Thank you.
That's
1970.
Yeah, 1970 to 1980 were the 10 years. for
Gates
that.
open at 6 a.m. Look at that.
Look at the old
It starts rumbling around 6:30 and wake everybody up in the neighborhood. I get
NHRA
super
old
loving it.
old logo.
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah,
That's
but it's
really
Ontario,
cool.
so you
Yeah.
know it's okay.
Yeah.
It was the country back then. Yeah.
You got issues.
I'm
don't
not
you,
a
boy?
fan of. I'm not a fan of the IE. I got chased by a helicopter at the Ontario street races.
Gabe's
Do you
going to
think they're still
alienate
looking
our.
for you?
Yes,
Gabe's going to
'Cause I es-
alienate our
'cause I
IE
escaped.
listeners.
I escaped.
Our IE listeners are going to be like,
Yeah, they don't
trash
like me.
talking the IE. What the hell?
Although you all open a track again, I will move there.
So a little part that I found, you guys can go on because you all know more about this than I do. I want to talk about Irwindale one more time here. Irwindale 1999 to 2025, right? Because it's closing. Is it closing at the first of the year?
No, it's closing at the end of. I think the last event is December
28.
something.
Okay,
Yeah,
so-
so they're.
Yeah.
you
So
know,
technically it's 24.
yeah,
is when-
end of
is when
24,
it's
yeah.
ending. And for those that don't know, it's an 8th mile round track, and it's just
Plus a drag strip.
plus a drag strip.
Yeah.
and it's just a cool facility that doesn't seem to
Super
take up
cool.
much real estate.
No,
you know, I mean,
it's
it's a
not that
awful
big.
big bang for the buck.
Yeah.
This is really, when you told me about this, it was crushing. You know, But what I wanted to mention about that was that that back in 2018, it was set to close. And that was because someone was making a deal for an outlet mall to be there instead of the
Yeah.
racetrack.
I remember hearing about that.
And somehow, again, that deal fell apart.
through.
So, you know, and didn't happen. So that's why they were able to sustain for a bit longer.
Yeah.
Well, they held on as long as they could, I guess. You know?
Yeah.
So
Right.
I sent Gabe the other day some pictures. One of my favorite episodes of Malcolm in the Middle is when Hal takes the boys to see stock car races, and it's obviously Irwindale. You can totally tell.
Yeah.
And they show this. They tried to cover up the signage, but I was like, I know that place. And that's like, man, mainstream American comedy, and the dad's taking the sons to the stock car races. Now it's like, no one does that.
Well, I mean, if a non-car guy knew it was Irwindale, everybody knew it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think I've been to like 5 or 6 events just this year at Irwindale. So
Wow.
it's like in my head, I'm thinking, where's everybody going to go?
Yeah.
It's
What are we
sad.
doing?
It's very sad.
That's a good question, and we'll get to that.
I got
towards
one
the end
more.
there.
Let me,
Yeah.
let me do this last one here. And I saved this for last because I thought it had some great bits to it. So then there was the Carlsbad Raceway. You remember that one?
I
I've
do
raced
remember
there.
that one.
I've raced at Carlsbad.
That was, it's a quarter-mile drag strip, 1964 to 2004. And they also had a lot of motorcycles. There was a motorcycle track
Yep.
according to it,
Yeah.
so they did
Yep.
a
I
lot of
raced-
motorcycles.
There's a lot of dirt around there.
I
Yeah.
raced motocross at Carlsbad when I
Did
was
you?
racing.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
Terrific. So the thing that really struck me about their legacy is exactly the reason we're having this conversation tonight. It was coined a phrase out there that they said, don't own the property, don't own your future. And that's what all these scenarios are. Somebody has
Yeah.
leased land, built a racetrack, and then
Right.
their lease crumbles and
Yeah.
end of story.
Very true.
yeah.
So that may play well into the Willow Springs story, because Willow Springs is coming to its end of a legacy that the Huth family ran, and now it's being turned over to another organization. There's a lot of rumors. We don't know a lot of details yet about what's really going on, but at least that transaction apparently has happened. New owners are taking over. What I have learned is that starting with the day of the deal being closed, was that for 18 months the new buyer could not change the schedule. So at least everything that had already been pre-booked has to stay that way.
Right.
The
Yeah.
19th month, you know, it's their schedule and how that works out. And I sure hope that it is some kind of organization that, whether it's hedge fund guys or whoever they are, you know, that are making this investment, that they're gonna, because Willow Springs really has the opportunity to be I don't want to say world class, but certainly a national class
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
operation.
Yeah.
Sure.
You
Well,
know, and you need to have this infrastructure that we talked of. You got to have the great stands. You got to have more restaurants. You got to have more bathrooms. You got to have more parking. You got to have more reasons to come out there. I mean, they have the tracks. They have the balcony. They have the karting, and then there's so much available real estate all around there as well. Some of that has been parceled out, and there's individual owners that own a chunk of that place, but for various reasons they're not able to really develop it fully. So, you know, it just, I would really like to think that Willow Springs will endure, will last, and hopefully these new guys will.
Well, we
make
had some
it
encouraging news from a previous guest, right, Dan?
Martina Kwan
Yeah.
was sitting in your chair, Jeffrey, and she's, I don't know if you know who she is. She's a female race driver. She's won like 2 or 3 big titles.
3 championships.
3 big
Back to back to back.
championships.
Yep.
Yeah, and she's raced all over the world. She's a badass. But
Porsches,
anyway,
she does Porsches.
she and her boyfriend own DK Racing School, which is out at Willow Springs. And we, in her show, we did kind of grill her about this a little bit. And she just said, I can't say anything, but she didn't have a frown on her face.
Yeah.
So that's a good sign.
She did say the only thing that she gave us was she said that the new owners plan to put, you know, resources into it.
Yeah.
So they are focused on the racing. So but she said, we will be happy with the outcome whenever it goes public, and it might be public any day now. Or
I researched it before the show. I couldn't find it.
Yeah,
couldn't find
so
anything
probably hasn't
either.
been
No,
released yet.
nothing since
Well,
August in the press.
As soon as news gets out, especially now with Irwindale closing,
Yes,
and this might
absolutely.
change their direction. Maybe they want to dump more into it. I heard a rumor, conspiracy theory again, that they want to and this is not from Martinez, from some other random internet source, so go take it for what it's worth. But they want to turn it into another spring mountain raceway where they have paddocks where you can buy condos or build a condo there and have your car right out on the track.
That would be cool.
That would be cool because a big problem for Willow Springs is lodging.
Oh,
It's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Right.
And the options there are very bad.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so that could be a thing there.
I also I have from a human source a rumor that the buyers are not really known for being motorsport guys or having much connection to this. So there was
Interesting.
some.
Does that make
Concern.
you nervous a little bit? I mean, look.
I don't know anything about them, so I'm not going to pass
But,
judgment.
but
I'm
if they
just-
don't,
but
have
the
a
story-
motorsports background, would that make you nervous? Because does that mean they're not committed to motorsports as much as somebody who is committed to motorsports?
That's the thing that the owners, the Huth family was looking for. They were looking for particular owners because I'm sure there were a lot of people interested in that facility, but they wanted to sell it to the right person because they want to continue.
They want that legacy to
Yeah,
go.
exactly.
All right.
So, I mean, obviously, once it's sold, they can't do nothing. The new owners can do whatever they want, but hopefully they sold it to somebody, they vetted that person or group or whatever, that
be
they will
interesting.
put something into it.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, I see it as a potential income opportunity because the housing development thing there doesn't make sense to me because there's nothing around there yet, and Amazon's not moving there, Walmart's not moving there anytime soon. So it seems to me that if they put something more around that as the hub for that area, as the track, now you could build a town around that. So maybe that's the case. I don't know. I mean, one could hope, but
I could see racetracks coming up with major sponsors like an Amazon track. Who
I pulled the ad. I think it was listed for only like 3.5 million or 2.5 million, which for a whole race facility is like
why didn't we pull our money?
seemed like a
together?
bargain to me.
that's
I was
because we don't
like,
have any,
pitched
CJ.
in.
We can't pull any money we don't
Man,
have.
you could have sold your RX or whatever it is. And
Here's my wallet.
you're definitely your
Let's do it.
Tesla.
Yeah.
There you go. Jeffrey's into
I
it.
could sell my Corolla, and
So the other thing, just being a race guy, that was where I was focused in pulling this information together. But I want to acknowledge that there are so many motorsport, biking opportunities for motorcycle racing and that sort of stuff. And I really don't understand that legacy. I have suspicion that a lot of places get to stay open because they're really, they're dirt paths on a mountainside or something like that. It's not a
Yeah.
big deal, and they're able to endure. They're not in the same kind of peril that these racetracks that we've discussed, are in. But I don't know that history at all, and it's possible that motorcyclists have the same stories. They're like, no, we used to.
I can tell you it's much worse because I got out of it decades ago when I was a kid, and even then it was like, oh, we can't go there anymore. Oh, we can't go there anymore. We can't go to Jawbone Canyon. We can't go to Gorman. We can't go to it's really bad. Racing especially. I mean, just find a place to ride in California is hard enough, but to find a place to
Yeah.
race motocross in
Right.
Southern
I think
California,
the insurance
oof.
alone will kill people from
It's
little
brutal.
tracks.
So is
Yeah.
Glen Helen, is that like the place to go?
I believe so. I mean, I'm not still into it, but I hear that name a lot. Yeah.
I
I
think, it's
think
about
Glen
the only
Helen.
significant, and it's a place that I know has ongoing.
So this brings us to our future, right?
Yes.
The future of racing in California, right?
Yes.
And thankfully, we have two people here in house that are putting on events. And specifically today, I know we want to talk about the All Japan Showdown that you're putting together with Vara, right?
Yeah,
Vara,
thank you.
the racing group.
Yeah.
Talk about that because I think that's a big deal. I'm excited about it.
Yeah,
and
I'm
I know
super excited.
a lot of people are, and I think more people need to hear about this. And we need more events like that, especially for the import community in California. So, what's up?
So on March 29 and 30th of 2025, I'll be putting on the third annual All Japan Showdown. This is in my partnership with VARA, the Vintage Automobile Racing Association. And it's, we're there on their time and their contract with Willow Springs. This is on the big track, Big Willow. And it started as I said, 3 years ago. This is going to be the third one. The first one, I found out about it, that they were putting on an event that they said, oh, we'll just get all the Japanese race cars together and let them, we'll make a thing out of that. And as soon as I saw that, being, the guy that runs Z Club of America, I was like, oh, I'm all over this. And I contacted him. I said, how can I be a help? And I'll sponsor trophies. How about that? They're like, great. I pulled that all together in just a couple of days and got the trophies made, and we were out. The second year comes around, and I had a whole whopping 60 days to get prepared for it, because they told me, it was like, hey, in January, they were like, in March, we could do this again if you want to do it. And I was like, oh, absolutely, throw me in. But I was smart enough to say, this takes a village to do these kinds of things right. So I partnered with 4 other Z clubs here in Southern California: Group Z, Datsun, West Coast Datsun, Empire Z, and the Japanese
Vintage
Japanese Motor Union.
It was Savant.
Really, he's just got to shorten that up.
VJMU.
So we all worked together, which was really helpful, because then I was able to, have folks that had great ideas, good feedback from their experiences on how to do things, and we also just kind of divided and conquered, and at least it was a clan that made that come together. So within that 60 days, we were able to go from really nobody showing up on my first year. It wasn't, it was just me and the Vara racers, Second year, we brought in about 150 people that showed up. And the really, really, really cool thing that has cemented my relationship with Vara now is that they've got spectators in the stands for their races. Mm-hmm. No, that hasn't happened. That doesn't happen. Yeah. And that's true for SCCA and NASA and stuff like that. There's not typically a lot of spectators going on. So that turned out to be the big plus for me. But I wanted to make sure that it wasn't just going to be a Z-oriented event run by Z guys. Mm-hmm. So that's when we opened up the idea of, like, let's try to, there's such an amazing JDM community in Southern California. And there is no one venue for them. JCCS is kind of on the right path. It's probably the closest thing to it, but certainly no one with the motorsport spin to it. And that's where my broken brain goes. So that's what I started to pull together, is trying to invite all the brands to come together. So I proved that we could do that. So for this next year, I'm really trying to raise the stakes big time, and I'm hoping that we have more, like 400 people there, and that I'm working with the big Japanese brands. And so it's a 2-day event, Saturday and Sunday. The Saturday is really just a giant exhibit. We're not going to call it a car show, because we're not going to judge people on. It's not about that. So it's just a huge exhibit where we'll have all the different JDM participants, line up, and everybody can just share, and all that sort of stuff goes on. During the Vara's lunch break is when we get to go on the track and do a parade lap or parade laps. But we also, everybody lines up, and we get the photographers up on these giant ladders and get those really cool shots, and everybody gets to, have their photo op opportunity, and then they all cruise around at 50 miles an hour around the track. And for some people, it is like, they don't ever want to race, but they always wanted to be on a racetrack, So they really have that great, that's a lot of fun. And then the day, then there's activities and vendors and all kinds of stuff that go on. But then at the end of the day is the All Japan Showdown race, the actual race. And these are cars that are currently, or people who have just joined into Vara, that they can race their Japanese vehicles on the track in the race. And it really turns out to be just fun and exciting. And again, you've got spectators, so people are actually rooting and paying attention, and it is really, really, really cool. Sunday is the next day, and that is going to be essentially an open track tracking day. So you go there. If you're an absolute newbie, you have to do a morning class with the Vara folks to make sure that you've been blessed to be safe and out there. For those who are experienced track drivers, then you just go out, and I think it's $250 to have your day. You get 4 sessions through the day. And so that's what I'm trying to do, is just get this whole JDM community, specifically for those who are into motorsports.
Yeah.
It's as you guys know, it's like JCCS or something else. You go and you can stroll and look at all these amazing cars and wish you had every one of them in your garage. but I'm after the guys who like, I really don't care what my car looks like. I want to press the pedal modulator all the way as far as I can, you know, and that sort of thing.
I love that.
So then the last part of this that is, I'm hoping all comes together. It looks like it's happening. It is happening. I want there to be an educational value to this as well, not just a show off. And so that educational value comes from experiences that help to inform us all more about Japanese culture, the Japanese automotive culture. What are those stories from all of these manufacturers that we all know and love right now? But they all have great histories. Right after World War II, they got busy and they learned their lessons and they started building new stuff. So I'm in communication with an organization called JAMA, the Japanese Automobile Manufacturers Association. I'm trying to get them to come out and do some presentations because they know they are the people that sit in Washington to make sure that the Japanese automakers are fairly represented and don't have the, you know, all the legal stuff. And so that will be helpful. I have a thing going on with the Japanese American National Museum that's here in LA. They have a project, same thing. They don't tell me very much about it, so I really can't speak, but it's a project called Cruising J-Town. And I'm not sure if it's a documentary or if it's a presentation documentary or it's a 3-layer. I don't know what it is yet, but I found out that they were doing this. It's a historical aspect on cars in Southern California and the Japanese cars. So when I contacted them and said, this is what I'm doing, they were like, oh, heck yeah, we want to be part of this. So I think they're just kind of going through the inner office process right now, but that will be helpful. I'm going to have taiko drummers out there for music. You know, each year we were like, you know, do you have a DJ? Do you have just a, you know, how do you do the sound system? How do you do the sound system that it doesn't interfere with the PA so that the drivers don't miss when they're supposed to be on the grid and stuff like that? So I was like, okay, no. I'll have live artists that will, in the down moments, you know, in between each of the races. That's the other thing is while you're there on the Saturday, you get to watch all the VARA races. You know, and there's so many interesting classes of cars, and they're all so different, and there's something for everyone, you know, whether it's one of the big bore guys or guys running around little Formula Vs or something like that. So this is going on the whole time, you know, it's just racing going on. It's just going to be a blast. It's going to be huge.
Are you anticipating a certain size crowd?
Well,
it sounds like you're changing the rules, you're adding a lot of stuff, and you know what happened the first year or the second year. So I'm sure you have some kind of number where you're anticipating how many people you're going to get.
Yeah, it's total speculation at this moment. But again, the benefit I have this time around of having 6 months in advance notice allows me to really find the right vendors, be able to put together these other deals. I'm also courting, like you guys are doing with 7 Stock, I'm courting all the manufacturers to say, hey, bring some cool cars out. You know, I don't need your money. I don't want you to sponsor. Well, yeah, I'd love you to sponsor me, but you know, it's like just make this presentation happen, show motorsports as an option for JDM life, you know, that sort of thing.
The timing might be interesting too with Irwindale closing. People might look for something, and people are familiar with Willow Springs that have been to Irwindale. It's a further trek for people in LA County and stuff, but you know,
I gotta take issue with you, buddy, on that thing. The people that tell me, oh, I don't want to go all the way out to Willow. It's so far. It's 90 minutes. It's 90 minutes. I can spend 90 minutes just trying to get from here to LAX.
Here's the thing that you're not realizing though with that. The people that complain about going to Willow, a lot of people can't make it out there because their cars won't make it out there.
There you go.
That's just the reality.
That's why God invented horses.
Yeah. So hey, look, you're preaching to the choir here. But I will say this though. And
Buttonwillow is further.
Yeah.
Buttonwillow is a 2-hour ride.
Yeah, most people don't want to go to Buttonwillow though. At least,
well, they're going to have to.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Well, that's my point now is that it's doing your event and doing the events that you do, Christina, are much more important now because there's one less option, one less convenient option. I mean, Irwindale was convenient for many, many reasons, and there were so many events that went there. Now, where they all gonna go? They're gonna go somewhere else. Willow Springs or whatever. So these events are really, really important. Yeah. You know, so now there's more more focus on that. So I think it's good that the timing of your event is going to be good.
Yeah, I think so.
You
too.
know,
and that time of year too. It's,
and
March is a great.
You're going to
time
be
of
at
year.
Seven Stock promoting the event, which is going to be huge because there's a lot of people, like myself included, that didn't know about it until after it happened last year. So now there's gonna be more awareness. You get this is one of those communities like if you don't have involvement, you're not gonna get any traction with this crowd. You got to have involvement. I'm sure Christina knows that very well.
Christina is going to be at the event too with her people, and that in my mind that's part of the education too. I need to know that I'm doing something to help women understand this is something you can do.
Right.
You don't have to be the girly girl anymore.
Are they doing overnight camping?
That has been allowed. I don't do it, but
because I know with Big Willow, there's all that area,
Yeah.
and I don't know if that's something that you guys are offering for people to stay overnight.
I thank you for bringing that up. That's a great thing for me to make sure that there's facility for everybody to do that.
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah,
RV?
since there's no
RV?
like convenient
RV.
hotels right there.
I know sometimes when we do track days at Streets, we've had people come
Yeah,
out
a lot of
and
people do
park
that.
in the parking lot and just stay in their cars and stuff. So just because there's not a lot out there to stay overnight.
No.
People typically go to like maybe you'll find an Airbnb in Rosamond or something, but they're not great.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's any big hotels.
No, you really
unless
have to
stay
go
in
down to
Palmdale.
Palmdale or Lancaster.
Yeah, which is not that far. And
Yeah.
Palmdale's like super close. So.
Yeah. So whatever.
So thank you for letting me spew.
Yeah,
and
good
get that
luck.
out there.
That's exciting. It's
I'm
very exciting.
so excited about
you.
that event because I'm a huge JDM fan. That's my thing. And there's just not a lot of JDM inspired stuff. And so that I'm over the moon about it. I can't
especially
wait.
with racing.
Yes,
Any
exactly.
JDM racing, right?
Yes, exactly.
So I think this is a great opportunity to ask.
Yeah, how it went. You do it. You ask. I know what's on your mind.
No, I was going to ask the question about who's gone the fastest here.
That question.
Yeah.
But wait.
Thought you were about the speed
we'll
dating.
save that for the end. We'll save that for the end. All right. So I have to ask Christina.
Yeah.
Christina had her first car speed dating event a couple weeks ago. How did it go?
It went really well. The car show kind of was a bust, but that was mostly because Galpin had their huge car show the same time. So a lot of my friends were there, which is fine. The speed dating was the most important part, but yes, it went really well. We didn't have like a lot of people. I think we had six people, couples basically, and everybody had a match. So I would say it was successful. And
Yeah, I got to see people, doing their thing and I eavesdrop in a lot of their conversations, and these are some really interesting conversations. I did hear one guy say something negative about a Rotary, and I was like, dude, that guy's no good. I was gonna tell your girl, I was like, hey, he no good.
Yeah, it went really well.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing was like, everybody's like, oh, we need more time to talk because we had 5 minutes. And like, I remember I was in a conversation with Eric and because I had to fill in for a girl that dropped out. But we were talking about racing and the timer went off. I think Melissa was doing the timer. Timer went off and Eric and I continued talking. And then Melissa's like, excuse me, it's time to switch. So that was pretty funny. But
It's like taking your SATs, pencils down.
yes, exactly. So I think next time we'll probably do like 8 to 10 minutes and hope that everybody's having a decent conversation. But
All right.
yeah, and there's been dates already since then.
Ooh.
And so
All right.
Could you imagine if
Yeah.
somebody gets hitched out of this? How
I know.
sick would that be?
Yeah. So
And our daughter Katie was there.
Yes, she was.
And here's the thing: it was perfect, smooth sailing.
Yeah.
Right up until the parents showed up in a Corvair, and then it all went to shit. It was like,
Yes, I introduced Katie to one of my friends. And
Dad, what are you
yeah.
doing? Get out of here.
What are you doing, Dad?
Oh, yeah, she's adorable. I love
So
her.
when's the next one?
So, okay, so I think what I might be doing is I might be doing a holiday mixer closer to the holidays, like
That's a
Christmas
great
time,
idea.
where it's not a lot of pressure. People are kind of freaking out about the whole speed dating thing.
Yeah, I
And
heard
so
that.
a lot of people kind of came and just hung out and didn't kind of want to watch. And so I was like, let's
Like
just do a
Gabe.
mixer.
I'm married.
I know you wanted to watch though. That's
Yeah.
what I find
Yeah.
fascinating.
Hell yeah, I want to watch. I want to see what
Yeah.
see what people
Yeah.
got.
Right? Yeah.
Maybe you got to get rid of the word speed dating.
Yeah.
Maybe it'd be like investigative dating or
There
something
you go,
like
there
that.
you go.
Exploratory.
Yeah.
Investigate.
Yeah, it's funny. There's a lot of different things. So one of my friends was like, "Let's do like a vouched dating, where
There you
you have
go.
a friend bring a single friend, like a married friend bring a single friend, and you're vouching for your friends, or you're like,
That's a great-
It's like
I don't want to vouch for my
It's like a
friends.
double date, basically.
Vouch for help.
If it goes south, I don't want to be a part of it. So, no, you know
Yeah.
what it is? Guys need to grow a pair and just sign
Oh,
up.
absolutely.
Because, and no offense, Gary and James, who were watching from the sidelines, I was like, dude, you guys could have actually just gone in there and had a good time.
I talked shit to Gary. I was like, Gary, why aren't you? I've been talking to him for a while, trying to get him to sign up, and he's like, well, girls can see my Instagram on my car,
Like,
and I'm
bro.
like, give me a break. Come on, dude, let's go. I will one of these days.
Yeah.
I will either set him up with someone.
Yeah, but
or
I
get
think
him in
that's a
there.
good idea. Do the mixer. Everybody,
Yeah.
there's no pressure.
Yeah,
Everybody gets to
exactly.
meet each other, and then
Yes.
you see how it goes from there.
Mixer car show. Yeah. Holiday mixer car show. Maybe
But-
everybody can decorate their
But
cars.
my boys out there, grow a pair, dude. Ask your girl out.
I have to agree with that, because I'll be honest with you, a lot of our girls these days are the ones that have been asking the men out.
That's not right.
Or asking them if they're single, because these guys are so nervous. I'm like, stop being so nervous.
Come on, grow a pair, fellas. Let's go. All right. Well,
Yes. Okay.
all right.
And that leads into how fast. I guess they kind of go hand in hand. there,
yeah. All right.
right,
So
well,
you
go ahead.
you shut up.
I know. I didn't even know we were going to talk about this today. I
No, we're
guess.
going to talk about it because how could you not?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the fastest you ever been on or off the track? I'll let you go first,
Oh,
Jeffrey.
I race cars don't have speedometers, so I really don't have the ability to answer that question at all.
All right. Well, this is
I would,
failing.
if I was just ballparking, probably in the 150.
150.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that just shows that if you know what your speed is, you're doing it illegally because you're doing it in a street car.
Yeah.
How about you, Christina?
Unfortunately, I've gone faster illegally than I have on the
Same
track.
here. So.
I would say, actually, I just raced a kid in Mexico. I was going about 130 max on the freeway.
In Mexico?
In Mexico. It's probably the fastest, because I think even at the track, the fastest I've been was maybe 110, 115 at the most. Because I haven't even done Big Willow, where you get most speed. I've done like streets in Fontana. You don't go that fast. So.
How about you, Dan?
For me, it's when I was a car salesman in the 80s at a BMW dealership.
Oh, this is good.
We talked about this a long time ago, but I did 155 in a BMW M5.
Wow.
And that was pretty terrifying, actually.
Yeah.
Like 125 on a frontage road, no less.
Oh,
And the frontage road is still there. It's like
Wow.
out by the airport in
Wow.
Camarillo. But
Man.
but yeah, 155 in a black M5.
Wow.
It would have been like an 87, 88 M5 maybe.
Oh, pretty good.
Okay.
I
Okay.
wasn't expecting that. I've done 147 in an S2000 with the top down, which was scary.
Oh, jeez. That's noisy.
Wow.
That was really, really dumb.
No helmet, I'm guessing.
No.
Of course
Man.
not.
No, it's hard to wear a helmet on the 101.
Oh my goodness.
And then I did 160 in an RX-7 with my buddy driving. That was pretty sketchy.
Yeah.
Um,
Was that on the street?
It was on A Street.
Okay.
Somewhere remotely
In Mexico?
It was on the 5.
Okay.
Coming back from San Francisco. That was, but that's what got me in love with the RX-7 back. Because at 160, it was sketchy and it took a long time to slow down. But at 160, it was amazing.
Actually, now that you say that, if I thought we were just talking about driving, but like I was in a car going 160.
Yeah.
With a professional driver.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I wasn't with a professional driver, but unfortunately we went 160. But I'm sure CJ can top that.
He's going to
Yeah.
slam us. He's going to slam us.
What's the fastest you've gone, CJ?
So the fastest I've gone, not in a car, obviously, but
Oh, you just killed
edge
it.
of Mach, 740 whatever miles an hour.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
it was an
amazing.
FA-18 Hornet,
Crazy.
Wow.
Blue Angels jet.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
something about that speed when you get to the edge of Mach, there's like a second where the jet starts doing this.
Oh,
it's going to
jeez.
break apart,
Oh,
and
jeez.
then it all of a sudden feels.
Those are
like-
all my cars at 100.
yeah.
So I know that feeling. I don't have to go Mach. I can go 100 in my.
740 some
240
miles an hour.
SX.
Yeah.
I think CJ could say out of combat pilots, he's probably in a very, very select group. Like, not very many people have gone that fast that aren't combat pilots.
Sure.
I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah,
So
it's-
you're probably in a few thousand in the whole
Yeah,
world
that's
and all of
awesome.
history
But
that
we
have gone
went
that
from
fast.
Lemoore Air Station, which is near Fresno, to the ocean. I would have to say in less, maybe 5 minutes.
Jeez.
Wow.
Yeah. All of a
That's
sudden, you're
crazy.
looking over the ocean. It's like,
That's
whoa.
crazy.
Yeah, that is. What
I
an
know where Lemoore is.
opportunity.
That's pretty far inland too.
It is.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, Fresno.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
But
we
as the
don't-
crow flies, and when you're an FA-18 Hornet, it's like
Piece of
bam,
cake.
Yeah.
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 I want to see this footage.
Yeah.
But as a
put it together.
as a racer, the part that intrigues me is it's not the speed; it's the G's that you were putting.
Yeah.
on.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's what really.
7.4 G's,
Wow.
and it feels like a car is on your head.
Wow.
And you got to breathe.
Does your face look like a pancake? You're just
Well, here's the thing. I don't know what my face looked like as I had the helmet on with,
Yeah,
the,
yeah.
with the kind of the mirrored
Visor,
shield.
yeah.
So I couldn't see it. In the video, you can see at one point when we pulled the 7.4 Gs and I wasn't breathing right, you could start to see my head do this.
oh yeah,
And I
yeah.
had pinhole vision. I mean,
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I just remember the pilot yelling, "Breathe right."
Okay.
So I
Yeah.
went, and I
Wow.
mean, it literally came back like that,
Wow.
like in a split second.
And you didn't hurl either.
Didn't hurl.
Wow.
Wow.
It's pretty
No, and
impressive.
and he actually said, he goes, after the first 10 minutes, he goes, "You're handling this really well." And I said, "I'm having a freaking blast here." So that's why we stayed up for almost an hour. And he even let me fly the thing. So, yeah.
You've
it's-
flown an
What?
F-18
Yeah.
Hornet.
Yeah.
Flew the F-18.
Wow.
That's so
That's
rad.
crazy.
I
And you're
love
not a
that.
pilot.
I'm not a
No.
pilot. No, I
don't have your
flown an
pilot's
airplane.
license.
I have small planes.
But you don't have
nothing
your
like a
license,
jet.
though.
No. Mm-mm.
Okay.
No.
How exciting.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Very impressive, CJ.
Yeah, you top all of us.
Yeah.
Pulled negative G's. Yeah, it was pretty fun.
Did you have a need for speed?
Oh God! All right,
Yeah, I did actually. Yeah.
we've expired now.
The expiration date
Top
is
Gun
here.
quotes. We're done.
So let's
Was this
start-
before or after Top Gun came out?
This would have been after Top Gun.
So
This
did you
would have
did you
been-
have some of those lines in your mind as you were flying up there?
No, I actually
No.
did not. No,
No
actually,
Top Gun.
no,
Okay,
no.
So
It's like, oh
he's
shit.
a
is what
non-car
kept-
guy, non-aviation
Yeah.
guy.
Right.
Probably boats or office
Yeah.
nest terror. Yeah. Mule train. That's Dan.
Yeah, you got it. Borax, baby. 20 mule.
20 mules.
Yeah.
No, was it? I would put it up there. Top experiences of a lifetime.
Yeah,
That's
I
amazing.
bet.
Absolutely.
That's so special.
Yeah,
that's
that is
like
amazing.
no one gets to do that.
No.
That's like even presidents and stuff don't get to do that. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, something about pulling negative G's at 700 miles an hour. It was probably about 650 miles an hour. That was probably the most bizarre feeling.
Yeah, you floated.
Just
Yeah.
It's like the vomit comment, that plane that they put them up in, that you're in negative G's
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you get to
yeah.
float around
Yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff. That's cool.
luckily, I had a pilot that could fix it. He got us back straight and level again, and got to pull it off.
Impressive.
Yeah.
All right, 86 minutes, CJ. We got to end this thing.
All right. Wow. Well, thank you, everybody. Jeffrey, thanks for coming back.
Thank
Good luck
you.
with the show. We're going to be out there.
Oh, great. I
Yeah,
appreciate that
yeah.
huge. That would be wonderful.
And Christina,
yes.
yes, thanks for coming out again. And
Yeah.
co-hosting with
Yeah.
us tonight.
Super excited.
And the update on the speed dating, or
Yeah.
whatever you can end up calling it.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Dan, Gabe. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe. We have our YouTube.
Channel.
Thank you. It's been a while since we've done that, huh? And I think he still hates the hell out of it.
I do.
He finds it annoying. You can
Yeah.
tell.
Good thing no one listens to the end of the show. They won't hear all
No,
this.
no,
stuff.
that's why we're doing it at the end of the show. All right. Don't forget, we have our website, too, westofTulsa.com. We have our, what's the tip line page? We're still calling it
Yep.
that? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. If you have an idea, contact us. We'd love to hear from you. All right. Thanks for watching. We will see you west of Tulsa.